Welcome back to another episode of Range of Emotions. I am your host, Kay. And today, we're going to be talking about addiction. But more specifically, we're going to be talking about addiction when it comes down to weed. I'm sorry for all the potheads out there. I'm sorry, I'm keeping it real. It's a self-reflective moment. It's a moment to self-evaluate a ton. But I'm going to go over a few things and we're going to touch a few topics in these next few minutes of this episode. So I just want everybody to stay tuned and just really get an understanding of what it is that I'm trying to say. I had to write this down. I was like, it's just too much shit. I got to write this down. So first and foremost, I just want to say what an addiction is. Let's talk about what an addiction is. Verbatim, an addiction is the fact or condition of being addicted to a particular substance, thing, or activity. So you can be addicted to anything besides drugs, and I think a lot of people fail to realize that it don't have to be just drugs that you're addicted to. An addiction can be in any shape, form, or fashion. A lot of people are addicted to getting money. A lot of people are addicted to drugs. A lot of people are addicted to coffee. When you're going by definition, we have addictions to things that we don't even know majority of the time. So I want to get into that, and a couple of synonyms is being dependent, having a habit, being compulsive, and having cravings and things like that. That's stuff that falls under being an addict. So with that being said, I already know some of y'all are already triggered because y'all heard that addict word and y'all heard that definition. Y'all know that, y'all, but we're going to get into it. So first and foremost, I want to kind of go back and I want everybody to think about, when was it that you first started smoking? Like, what was it that occurred in your life where you like, man, I gotta hit the blunt. For me, I started in high school, like my senior year of high school. I smoked a few times before that, but I wouldn't even say I smoked because if you ask me, I couldn't even properly hit the blunt. I couldn't even roll. I didn't know how to cop anything. I didn't know numbers. I didn't know nothing. I was just like, I want to smoke, and this is just what it's gonna be. But later on in life, once my grandmother passed, I think that's when my habit, because I was at that point, I had learned how to roll, I had learned how to actually smoke and do all these things. So I feel like that definitely enhanced my habit on a completely different level, because I'm like, well, shit, I know how to do all this now. I'm gonna just smoke. And at the time, I didn't think I was smoking to get rid of sadness or to get rid of any type of pain that I was going through. I just felt like, well, shit, my grandma passed away and I just want to smoke. My friends smoke, so that's just what we do when we chill. We just smoke, you know what I'm saying? So I always think, first and foremost, what is it that made us start smoking to begin with? Like, what is it? Now, after you think about that, I want to touch on just us being reliant on it to kind of function. You know what I'm saying? Like, we rely on weed to make us happy. We rely on it, like when we're sad, we rely on weed. Like, we smoke weed when we're sad to make us happy. We smoke to help us function throughout our day, to regulate our emotions and all of these different things. But that shit don't work. The same way your doctor gives you medicine for depression, and the same way your doctor gives you medicine for anxiety, you're gonna feel just as numb if you're constantly smoking. I don't care what nobody fucking say. You're gonna feel numb the more you keep smoking, the more you not taking a step back to really understand why you smoke as much as you do, or the things that made you start smoking to begin with. Because I don't think that's something that is thought about enough. It's just like, yeah, I'm a pothead, yeah, I smoke, yeah, this, but it's like, what was it that actually made you start smoking? What was it that actually triggered you and had you like, damn, like, I gotta smoke all the time, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's super important that we understand, like, weed is not going to regulate our emotions. Weed is not going to help us function out here in this society. For the most part, a lot of us smoke just to get rid of the pain. A lot of us can't function in this life unless we smoke. We can't have sex unless we smoke. We can't eat unless we smoke. Oh my God, my stomach hurt. I gotta smoke a blunt. Oh my God, I want to take a shower. I gotta smoke a blunt. Oh my God, I'm about to go to the family function. I gotta smoke a blunt. But y'all don't realize that every time we say we gotta smoke a blunt, we are simply doing nothing but covering up everything that we're feeling. We don't want to feel shit, yet we want to feel so much. We want to be happy, which is feeling, but we don't want to feel all in the same breath, which is why we're smoking. So it's kind of like a confusing thing to me personally. And with that being said, with having those cravings, and you get to a point where when you crave something, you want it. So if you're craving it and you're not getting it, then that becomes a problem. So then that becomes a thing of who we're getting it from. We go crazy when the plug is not answering. Oh man, I'm chilling with my family. Who the hell told you to have a family? I'm trying to get some weed. What you mean you got a family? We don't care about stuff like that. We're just trying to get our fix and keep it pushing. And I don't think we think about it like that. I'm not gonna lie. When I see someone that's outside or like that's homeless and that's on drugs, I literally look at myself. Because what is the literal difference between a pothead and the person that's on the corner holding a sign? It's not one single fucking difference. It's not a difference at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are no different from them. We just know how to function. They don't know how to function because of the shit that they're doing. We know how to function. I actually used to work at McDonald's like years and years ago, and I worked with a functioning heroin addict. So seeing that she can come on the clock and be high as shit off of heroin, come on. So basically, when you a pothead, you ain't nothing but a functioning addict. You can still live your life. You can still do this. You may not be stealing for it, or you may not be whatever, but you're still an addict. And that brings me into my next point when it comes down to money. Like, I'll say from my own experience of people I know and myself and just how things have been, we'll spend our last on some weed. And then we'll be mad as fuck when we got a bill due in 2 days because we fulfilled that addiction before we took care of our responsibilities. And that's typically how it is most of the time. Like, we don't give a damn what we gotta pay for it. We don't give a fuck who house we sitting in front of. We don't give a damn about none of that. We just care that we want this weed. Whether we can afford it or not, we're going to pay for this weed. The weed is going to get bought, whether we can afford that shit or not. And I think that it's important that we think about that, because not only are we buying the weed, when you're high, most times you're going to want to eat all the sugary shit, all the shit that's bad for you. You can just go grocery shopping that morning. That night, you are not thinking about, oh man, let me fucking cook a meal. I'm high. I want to go buy some. I want some cookout. I want some this. I want some that. And money plays a huge part in an addiction as well, because that's why a lot of people end up on the streets. Like, when you're trying to fulfill that high, you'll go through money. You burn through money like nothing. So I think that's important that we think about the amount of money that we spend on this addiction, basically. Again, you are not a pothead. You are an addict. That's just simply what it is. It's no other way to simplify that. You are no different from the people that are out here on the street, holding the signs, asking for money to get their next fix. You just know how to function with it. And that's a huge difference, y'all. So next, I want to talk about actually taking care of your physical health and your mental health. Wow. Like, if you are a smoker, because what a lot of people do is, and I would say even myself included, like, we're super anxious and we want to smoke to help our anxiety. What a lot of us fail to realize is the more we smoke to help the anxiety, the worse the anxiety actually gets in the long run. I heard one time on an interview someone say, if weed made you feel better, why don't you just take one hit and feel better? And I feel like that's something that's always stuck with me, because when we smoke, most times we want to feel better. We want to feel something. 9 out of 10, we don't feel better. By the time we halfway through the blunt, we want to roll another one. Be real. Come on, we all do it, like, for real. But we want to roll another one by the time we halfway through one of them. But it's like, if it makes you feel good, why is all of this stuff necessary? And I think that's something that we don't think about often. Like, this shit is making my depression worse. This shit is making my anxiety worse. When you actually sit down and think about it, how is this actually helping you? How is weed actually helping you mentally, physically, emotionally, financially? Is it actually solving any problems in your life? Are you going further in your life? You know, like, don't get me wrong, there are people out here who smoke every day and who are extremely successful. That does not take away from the fact that you're an addict. It just doesn't. But my personal opinion, when you have an emotional attachment to something, it's so different. It's so different, because some people can just smoke and like, okay, I'm gonna go cold turkey. Cool. You have some people who are gonna smoke and it's like, ah man, this is hard. But majority of the time that comes from just having that emotional attachment to what we're doing. Like, nah man, I can't, I'm sad as fuck today, man. I just wanna smoke, man, and I just wanna feel happy, man. And yeah, my brother died 10 years ago and I'm smoking because I'm still hurt from that. It's like, I mean, call it what you want, but it's just, it doesn't make things good and it doesn't make anything better in the long run. And like I said, when you think about how long you've been doing it, you'll start to realize like, this shit don't make me feel no better than it did 10 years ago when I started, or 6 years ago when I started, or 3 years ago when I started. It just doesn't. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's important that we understand, like, we ain't, I'm gonna keep saying this throughout this episode. We are literally not potheads. It's an addiction. Addict. Like, get used to that word. If that's what you are, that's what you are. Let it resonate. Let it boil in your soul. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, that's just really calling it how I see it. When you really think about it, when you really think about a person who's on drugs, we're gonna say a crackhead. We're gonna do it how they do it on TV. They'll steal for it. They'll do anything sexual for it. Most of them, anyways. Most of the time, they end up homeless. They'll do anything that they can for it. I have seen that same shit be done when it comes down to something as simple as weed. When you want your fix, you want your fix. When you piss the hell off, oh man, shit, I want to smoke, man. And you mad as hell at everybody. When you want your fix, you want your fix. You get to speeding down the highways and, man, fuck, I need my weed and I just gotta smoke. And that shit is not healthy on your mental when you become that dependent on something to allow you to basically be a fucking human being. You know what I mean? And I want to say too, just the stuff that we do when we're high, like the foods we crave, the things we may or may not do. For me personally, if I'm not smoking, my mind is clear. I could think, I could breathe. Granted, the sleep ain't the best in the first few days, don't get me wrong, of just not smoking, but I sleep better, my mind is clear, I feel like I can think, you know what I mean? And when we was younger, they always used to tell us, man, weed is killing your brain cells, it's gonna damage your brain cells. And now that I'm a little older, I'm really starting to think that shit is true. My memory is ass. I can go a whole 24 hours and get to the end of the day and just be like, bro, I don't even remember the morning time half the time. So I think stuff like that is important when it comes down to smoking in general. Realizing like, bro, this shit is a true addiction and it really holds me back from moving forward in my life because this is all I do. This is all I know to make me feel better. I was telling myself the other day, I was having this conversation. I was like, man, it's crazy that majority of my adult life, I cannot recall a moment where I've been sober. It's just something so simple as weed, and I can't recall a point where I've been sober. I can't recall a point where I'm like, damn, I didn't use weed to fulfill my human duties on a day-to-day basis. So I want us to be mindful of these type of things. I want us to take into consideration, like, man, think about where you were when you started. Think about where you are now. Not too many people have elevated by having such a strong addiction to weed because it keeps you isolated, it keeps you by yourself, and then it also keeps you around people who want to see you high every day anyways. If you realize a lot of people who are on the streets who have an addiction, most people stay addicted to that drug and most people never leave the streets because they got friends who do it with them. Everybody want to smoke a buddy. Not everybody. But everybody wanted somebody they could do their drugs with, they can do they shit with, basically. So I think that's super, 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 super important. You know what I mean? And I want to finish this out by just saying, like, you can accomplish shit and not be high. For the longest, I used to be like, man, I'm not going to be able to talk. I'm not going to be able to write. I'm not going to be able to do nothing if I'm not high because I'm so used to creating all of my paintings, everything I've ever done, my poems, my everything. I've been under the influence. So it's like, how do I maneuver in my life and begin to see like I have an addiction to this and I need to move forward from it because it's getting me somewhere and I'm doing things, yes, but it's also holding me back because of the tight restraint that I have on it. So I just want y'all to think about that. Um, hey, you are not a pothead. You are an addict, man. Seriously, in all seriousness though. Like, do better and get better. And I also want to say too, I want to add, when I talk about being mindful of who you're getting it from, I was in the car with someone the other day, and they were telling me how they had a friend, and their friend was getting weed from someone at a gas station. Now I know y'all already like red flag, red flag. I'm not copping no fucking weed for nobody in a gas station. I ain't either. But this person did, and it just so happened that, or their friend did, and it just so happened that their friend died because there was fentanyl in the weed. So I just want to say too, like, if you're gonna be doing it, be safe out here, because there are so many people who are putting so many other things in weed that can actually cause death. And I think it's super important that we be mindful once again of who we're getting it from. Not also who we're getting it from, but where we're getting it from. And when I say where, it kind of does coincide with who, because what I've realized in these past few months is a lot of people who sell drugs have a lot of issues with people out here in the world. They got so many damn issues. You don't want to just be popping up to somebody's house and something popping off because you didn't even know. Yeah, you just getting weed, but now look. So I think that's super important that we understand, like, don't just be trying to get it from anyone because they got low prices or they got it, or, well, I work with him. Well, you don't know what buddy got going on outside of work. So you got to be mindful of those type of things. And I will also say too, to like literally one last thing. I've been talking about this a lot lately, and I to me it's humor, isn't it? It's kind of like disturbing in a sense, just to me. But weed is not a conversation. Weed is not a conversation. Approaching someone and basically promoting your business, man, you do pills, or you smoke weed, or you do this, that's not a conversation starter. What I've realized in this new day and age, apparently, is weed has become a conversation starter. Drugs have become a conversation starter. It has become a thing where you can't have a friend because, like, you get friendships by saying, "Hey, I smoke," or whatever. That's typically how most people start friendships, and especially in the job, like just the workforce as a whole. Like, people will come up to you casual, like, "Bro, yeah, man, you smoking this and you smoking that and you popping this." It's like, this shit ain't no fucking conversation starter. This is real shit. It's so crazy because for so many years people will always say, like, "Yeah, man, I ain't never heard nobody dying from weed, and I ain't never heard this, that, and the third." Y'all hear it, y'all know the effects of it. And if it's a point where you feel like no one is dying of it, how are they feeling internally? Like, how are they feeling mentally? Like, overall, if they ain't dying from it, how they feel? Because they feel some type of fucking way about something. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, I just feel like that's super important. I think that we should really be taking into consideration just how much we smoke and where we're trying to go in our lives. And again, I ain't saying don't smoke, or I ain't perfect. Shit. I ain't saying don't do nothing, but what I'm saying is really sit down and understand, where has it actually taken you? How have you progressed? Where have you actually gone in this life when it comes down to you smoking? You know what I'm saying? How do you feel internally? Do you feel better mentally? Do you feel better emotionally? Have you gained anything financially? Think about all these things and let me know what y'all feel. Let me know what y'all think, because y'all hear what I think, you know? But yeah, just let me know. I'm gonna finish out this episode right here. Also, I do want to say, if you are trying to stop smoking, figure out something that you can do in that time frame that can take away from you smoking. But I realize it takes about like 10, 15 minutes to face a whole blunt. Find something to do in that time frame that you usually do. You know, work out if you need to. Read a book if you need to. There are ways to kind of get around it, you know what I'm saying? Find a way to make weed unattractive to you, to where you're not constantly wanting it or you're not constantly craving it. Do everything that you have to do to make sure that you're making better decisions when it comes down to how much you smoke or when you smoke. Set an alarm. Okay, I'm gonna do it in the morning. I'm gonna do it at night. Not every fucking hour because you're fucking bored. You want to roll up. It shit's unhealthy. We're at a whole different point in life now. It's time to be better and to fucking tighten up. So, with that being said, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Range of Emotions. Y'all bear with me. I'm gonna be giving y'all a lot of topics on childhood trauma, mental health. We're gonna be talking about everything, just dealing with mental shit that people don't talk about, because that's a lot of stuff. And yeah, I thank y'all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I got to go.